Once upon a time, I used to go to the Pistons Palace at Auburn Hills. Used to love spending my time in Detroit. And I used to love that announcer that would introduce Billups and Rasheed and Big Ben Wallace and Rip Hamilton, Chauncey, the whole crew. Used to absolutely love it.
Tatum the rebound, the long pass. Porzingis fakes it. Huge size of relief.
We're not 2-26 bad.
The Detroit Pistons are a horror show.
Bottom line is, it's my job. It's my responsibility.
Losing streak goes on. Around to the basket. Oh no.
Today is the day. Today is the day that the Detroit Pistons will not make NBA history. As you guys probably saw from the intro, the infamous 28-game losing streak ends today. I'm sure it's no secret that the Detroit Pistons are on the verge of having the worst regular season in NBA history. And if they lose another game, this team will have been successful in having the longest losing streak, well, ever. But what if I told you that there is a team in the NBA right now that is honestly more confusing? A team that can compete with the best at times but will often get blown out by a G League caliber squad. Meet the Toronto Raptors. And if you're a Pistons fan, I would be jumping around screaming because there's finally light at the end of this tunnel. But before we get into this matchup and why Detroit will shock the world tonight, I just want to thank all of you so incredibly much for 1,000 subscribers, and I know it's been quite a while since the last video. Truth is, life just caught up with me the last couple of months, like damn, let a man live. But I've returned as the NBA is back better than ever. If you are one of those people who's new to the channel, please check out the socials and our Discord server in the description, which is almost at 1,000 members as well. It's been pretty amazing communicating with everyone, and I promise you won't regret joining. Without further ado, let's get into this. It is currently 5 hours before tip-off, and the Raptors have just traded OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa to the Knicks for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley. In any other scenario, this wouldn't be directly correlated, but this means they will not be available for tonight's game, and now when I think about it, this would be a pretty good smokescreen as people will have something else to allude to when the Raptors beat all odds and choke. Because this isn't just a regular game. Everyone is invested in the Detroit Pistons right now. When you look at their roster from top to bottom, it ain't all that bad. In fact, it's quite the opposite. They have a guy in Cade Cunningham who legit could be voted an all-star this year if they just get a few wins, a couple of great young pieces in Jaden Ivey, Asir Thompson, and Jalen Duren. Not to mention made huge additions this offseason, paying Monty Williams the most a coach has ever gone paid, Monte Morris, and Joe Harris. So what seems to be the major issue with the Pistons? It's more so the team dynamic does not work, much like the Raptors, hence why they are making this trade. And the reality is that it's a lot harder to get wins in this modern NBA as there's so much talent honestly on every team. But if you have a coach like Monty Williams who is allergic to making an adjustment, things probably won't keep going so well. I've always said this with the Suns the last couple of years, when push comes to shove, teams are going to figure them out if they keep running the same sets, and they did. For example, with this team, their lineup tonight is a lot better than what they usually run. They often start Cade, Ivy, and Killian Hayes, who are three beefy point guards together, and the rest are centers with very limited spacing. That is, aside from Bojan Bogdanovic, who has averaged 20 points along with Cade for the last 2 years, yet management hasn't found a way where they can coexist yet. Does this mean Cade was right all along in saying that they are not a 2-26 team? In theory, yes. But given the slow start to the season, and now that this streak is tallied so large, nobody wants to be the team that loses to the Pistons. In regards to tonight's game, there was a time, despite still being one of the worst teams in the league, Detroit managed to beat the Raptors in 6 consecutive meetings throughout 2021 and 2022. This Raptors team is tailor-made for Detroit because they also have a bunch of 6'8" forwards with no real purpose. Combined with the fact that Pistons fans are coming to the games wearing cardboard boxes on their faces and the Raptors are in serious rebuild mode, there is no better time to seize the opportunity. Of course, most of this is just speculation and only time will tell to see if I end up being correct, but regardless of the outcome, Detroit is in desperate need for new faces on the team. Not gonna name any names though. I mean, just last game, they had the goods to bring Boston, the most deadly starting lineup in the league, to overtime, yet of course all the media recognition is going to be about 28 straight losses. I feel bad for Cade, man. He's been balling out all year, but when you look at the last couple of games, he's been a different animal. Part of why I'm making this video is to show how one element such as coaching or even a team's confidence can really shift the entire franchise's goals and direction. The 2004 Pistons have been brought up a lot recently, talking about would a team like that have fit in this era. And personally, I think undoubtedly they would have thrived in today's day, because when you bring up that team as Stephen A did, you talk about how no one was a top 10 or even top 15 player in the league, but you bring up how everyone had a specific obligation and ended up pulling one of the greatest upsets of all time. Back then, players were more loyal, not focused on the amount they're getting paid or the recognition they get globally. That obligation may have changed, because I don't think we would have ever seen something like this unravel in the 90s. What it comes down to now is that it will probably be a historical night in the NBA either way. If Detroit ends the streak, and I think they will, it's not out of the realm of possibility they could go on a huge run like Golden State has recently. But if they lose, it will be the longest losing streak and potentially be, quite honestly, the worst NBA team ever if we are just looking at the numbers. All in all, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Really goes to show as NBA fans, it's possible to be united like this and really hope for the best with the team. Let me know in the comments any other videos you may want or whatever. Hope you guys have a good day, and I'm out. Peace.